and that is confirming an appointment to OCRA, the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency. And it's, I know Bonky, but I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so Sicargor, I don't even know. But Bonky is who's wanting to put back on. Does anybody have any, I'd take a motion if anybody would. Legislator Romeo, second from Legislator Cody. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, Bonky returns to OCRA. Item 2A, we have Shannon Hardy, WEC Commissioner, coming up to talk to us about a couple of items. The first one is the order on consent relative to a settlement enforcement action brought by the DEC. And is this is partnering with fee too, correct?
No, they are not. They're two separate issues.
Right. Sorry.
Don't let the names confuse you just because it's Lake Creek. Yeah, don't let it confuse you. Okay.
So take us through 2A, please.
I will. So obviously, as everybody knows, this is as a result of the significant non-compliance event that happened in June into July of this year related to the failure of the Lake Creek force main, like in adjacent to the CSX Railroad Bridge by Destiny Mall, where in order to complete that repair, we had to perform a complete bypass of the system and pump into Lake Creek. And so obviously there's a lot of history around this infrastructure, both the Liverpool and the Lake Creek force mains. This is not actually the first consent order related to this infrastructure. Actually, there was a previous consent order that was issued and executed back in fall of 2019, about 5 years ago. And that consent order, again, surrounding the previous failures of the force mains and the need to get them fixed. That consent order, though, however, with any consent order that we get as a matter of non-compliance, DEC has a schedule of actions or schedule of items that need to be completed under that. And for that original 2019 consent order, it was more focused on us completing engineering studies and then the preliminary design documents for the replacement of the Liverpool and the Lake Creek force mains. And so, we did that. We hired an engineer, I want to say late in 2018, early 2019, and they started that work. They started doing the preliminary designs. We submitted that preliminary design, the basis of design, back in February of 21 to the DEC. It was approved in April of 21, which then basically concluded that consent order action. We continued on and have been working on the subsequent design and preparation of construction drawings for that replacement work. Obviously, you're asking yourself, wow, that was like summer of 21, it's now fall of 23, what happened? Or 24, what happened? Well, in that time, actually, we have to start doing a lot of the geotechnical work, the detailed design, mapping, survey work. And what was discovered in the process of all of that was that we had some pretty significant soil conditions that complicated the repair. So our original plan was just to go in and line the two sewers or the sewer mains and get them rehabbed and get them updated. That's not an option. So what we've had to do is go back to and look at and amend that design approach. And we've broken the project out now into 2 phases. And we presented this to you folks, I think it was in early last spring. And when we sought funding approval, $25 million for what we're calling the phase 1 project. And that is lining 75% of the Liverpool force main that comes along down the parkway, and then 45% of the Lake Creek force main, which will come from the pump station down towards the Destiny Mall. Why those 2 sections? Because those are lining the existing force main exactly where, those 2 force mains exactly where they are. Where the second part of the project, which is what has complicated it and delayed it, is where the 2 force mains actually come together before they come to our metro plant. going forward, we're going to actually abandon the 2 existing pipes, and now we're going to be building 1 new single pipe, but it has to be micro tunnels. And so that's a pretty significant geotechnical undertaking. It's a complex design. It's going to be routed through the Destiny property. So there's been a lot of engineering work that's been going on behind the scenes of the best way to push those forward, the timing of those. So that's kind of the answer of where the project is, I think, for you guys, and why this hasn't been moved forward. On a parallel path, right, the biggest thing for us is that phase 1 project is $25 million. The phase 2, these are big, expensive projects. Our funding generally comes through either bonds that we issue on our own or through EFC, which is a lot of that Clean Water State Revolving Fund, and it's all based on a score. If you get a consent order, your score goes way up and your eligibility for funding goes way up. And so when we started looking at this project in 22, 23 and working with DEC and working with different people of how can they help us fund it, it's going to end up being a really big expensive project now with the 2 phases. And so we were awarded a $10 million WQIP grant in March of 23, and that's certainly going to help.
That's for phase.
That's for phase, well, that's towards the overall project, yeah. And so now, obviously entered this issue in the summer of 24 and significant noncompliance. And so here is, and I don't want to say that there's a silver lining in a consent order, but this is one of those silver linings in consent order where we're working in conjunction with DEC and EFC. Obviously, this is a serious matter. It's a major noncompliance. But with this consent order that we're in front of us today, it is very different than the original consent order because the other consent order didn't require construction, so we couldn't use that to leverage funding. This consent order now in front of you today does require us, and is part of the schedule of compliance, to submit to them our scheduled timeline of when we're going to complete the full phase 1 and phase 2 construction and then complete that construction. So this keeps us on the hook to get those pipes fully rehabbed from both of those pump stations, from their locations to Metro. So that's kind of the high level. I know that's a lot. So do you guys have any questions?
Yes, so I have a couple.
Yeah.
I'll just start with, so can you outline from here on out the timeline?
Yes, absolutely. So within the consent order, there are 4, if you want to flip to, there's an Appendix A. This is the meat of it. There's milestones and completion dates once this is executed. So the first milestone actually was we've already completed it. That is within 30 days of completing that force main repair, we had to submit a report to DEC documenting everything, all of the work that was done, the volume of water that was pumped to the water bodies. So that's been completed. And then the second item is we have an emergency response plan. It basically is our break the glass, what to do in a case of things go wrong. They required us, we've had that in place now for a couple of years, and that tells our team if something fails, who needs to be called, what needs to be done, where are the parts and pieces, how to fix it, and how to get it back up and running as quickly as possible. Under this consent order, we had to update that because obviously the magnitude of this repair is very uncommon. So we had to really make sure we had a good detailed plan and understand that if we end up in a situation where we have to bypass to the environment, and I want to stress that, in the majority of our emergency repairs, we do not bypass to the environment. This one was unavoidable, so we wanted to make sure, working with DEC, like if this has to happen, what needs to be done to protect the environment and protect the public. So that emergency response plan update has been done and has been sent to DEC. So the last 2 milestones, milestone 3 is once this is executed, we have to submit to DEC our schedule. What are we going to do? Like when are the rehabs of these going to be completed? And then obviously the last one is get it done. So to your question, Contracts 1 and 2. Contract 1 is actually the Liverpool Force Main from the pump station along the Parkway to just about the Destiny property. We're going to be replacing about 75%, as I mentioned. It's almost about 3 miles of force main. And then contract 2, the Lake Creek Force Main is going to be just about 1.5 miles from the pump station down. That we've gotten the design, the construction bid documents have been approved from DEC. We are working through final land acquisition and easements. So our intent is to be bidding that by Q1 of '25. So within the next few months, we're planning on going out to the street to get that built.
So easements would be Destiny and CSX, or
No,
is it train?
for contracts 1 and 2, because these are actually going to be up along the Lake Creek. So the Lake Creek Force Main runs along some properties along, it's not 7th North, but it's along like, I forget what the name of that road is. The northern end of Hiawatha Boulevard, but right along Lake Creek. So that pipe is actually in the backyards of a lot of properties. And so it's working with them. And most of these, there's 11 easements that we need to obtain. 10 of them are temporary, just construction phase access, and then 1 will be a permanent because we have to install some new structures and infrastructure outside of existing easements. I anticipate, we're in negotiations with the property owners now. We will have to come back to you folks to get authorization because it is a contract with a private entity. So that's the next big steps for contract 1 or for phase 1. Going into construction hopefully by summer of '25. And that we anticipate being somewhere between a 12 to 18 month period to have complete. So having that done by the end of '26 for phase 1.
Okay, so are you anticipating any issues with, that's a lot of easements, a lot of private owners, are you anticipating?
At this time, we're still working through the details and I don't know, I can't say for certain.
Okay.
That's, so between like 81 and Buckley Road? Kind of?
Between 81
I don't think it goes that far.
and no, it's on the east side. So it's south of 7th North and kind of almost to Park Street. I think it's that stretch from 7th North down to Park Street, the back lots along Lake Creek.
Buckley is just a little bit.
Yeah.
So it is almost about.
But that is a critical path item for us, is getting those easements, because then that gives us permission to get out into construction for contract 2.
In the meantime, you had talked about a remediation plan, or not remediation, updating the emergency response plan.
Yep.
What will happen if it breaks next week in the time that we're waiting? What's different about that than the last time around? Or is there anything different?
There really isn't anything different, unfortunately. And again, there are 2, it's the Liverpool and Lake Creek Force Main. So the Liverpool Force Main is a much smaller force main. That one we can bypass it. We can set up emergency bypass, and we have opportunities to pump and redirect flow to keep it in the sanitary sewers. And unfortunately, because of the size of the Lake Creek Force Main, there simply is no mechanism to rapidly set up a bypass system around anything. So unfortunately, until we get it rehabbed, that is the only solution, which is why it's really important that we move this rehab forward as quickly as possible.
I think it's worth dwelling on that for a minute because it's come up a couple times now, but this is a case where we had a vulnerable piece of infrastructure that we were aware of based on flow volumes and pressures and some of the chemical things that went on in there that we were already talking about fixing, right?
Yep.
So unfortunately, something went wrong, and I think it's worth emphasizing that really our hands were tied here, right? There was no way to avoid this bypass
Correct.
that we're discussing today.
Right.
Okay.
And I think the hardest part for us is, and we're seeing it in a couple of other places where we know things are aging, we know they're failing, and there's a plan in place, and there's a plan to replace it. There's a plan to get it fixed, get it replaced, get it updated, and it's continuing to fail in the meantime. And it's a tough place to be for my team. It's a tough place for the community because and especially in the situation of a project like this that is so big and it's so complicated and so expensive. it definitely does beg the question, like, why is it taking so long? Well, it's taking so long because it is a very complicated project. There's a lot of environmental permits, there's coordination with CSX, there's coordination with private property owners. It's a very tricky geotechnical, the land, everybody knows the land in and around Onondaga Lake is a very unique situation, and it's not easy to build on. And so even kind of installing a large diameter force main is complicated.
I might have missed this, but you said 25 million for phase one. What's the second phase? Do you not have a
I don't-
price yet?
I don't think we have an estimate yet,
Okay.
unfortunately.
And you mentioned having access now to some of the environmental benefit project funds. Will that be
Yep.
exclusive to the consent order here, or is that something that could be applied to other pieces of infrastructure as well?
Nope, so this consent order makes the phase one and phase two projects, it increases their project score, so it bumps them up on that list of eligibility. And that only applies to the projects as identified in this consent order.
It's the difference between EFC and environmental benefit project, I think. We have to pay EBP to CNY as sort of a penalty.
Okay.
The EFC acronym suit is our funding agency.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I think so going back to the consent order, obviously there is fines and penalties associated with the non-compliance event. And so, we do have a 10,000 payable. That's, once we execute this, we will have to pay that. With the remainder of the roughly 47,000 suspended, that if we fail to meet these milestones, we will have to, pay the remainder of that penalty. And then the environmental benefit project, and again, working with DEC, coming up with a project to support Tully Valley mud boil remediation, because obviously anything related to the Onondaga Lake, water quality, health and well-being. So we will be contributing to that effort through CNY regional planning.
And I think I read from the 2019 consent order that we were refunded a portion of that money based on being able to comply with the order. So I think it's good to hear that we have a history of being able to meet our obligations, and obviously we plan to continue doing so.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I think that's the hardest part for us, is that we did work judiciously, in a span of 2 years to resolve that consent order. And that was the challenge of it, was like, we kept going back to the funding agency, well, this project is under consent order. And when they looked at it, said, well, no, the consent order didn't require you to build it. And so that was tough for us, because it was like, this is a really big project. And typically you see a consent order and it does help with funding, but it didn't in this case. So, but we have been working continuously on this, and we are, we're definitely nearing construction on phase one.
Do you have anything to add?
Just one clarification, Adam, you can speak for the other shit. The CSX bridge.
We are going to divorce ourselves from being connected to the bridge. That's part of the plan?
Phase two, didn't really talk about it a little bit, but the phase two will be a completely brand new force main that will actually be built away from CSX, and we're actually anticipating building our own bridge over Onondaga Creek to get onto our campus, because currently the only two options we have to get across from the north side of Onondaga Creek is either the CSX bridge or the Hiawatha Bridge. And so we don't want to mount it onto the Hiawatha Boulevard Bridge. So we will be building our own, and we're actually looking at how do we integrate that infrastructure into the trail. Can we put some pedestrian access up above it? Can it be a point of view, to help with the trail paths down there? So there's a lot that's kind of going on in trying to make this, anytime we could take up an infrastructure project and embed it into the community as an asset, we're going to be looking at that.
Absolutely. And get it away from CSX.
Yes.
Correct.
Just adds
Correct.
elements of,
Yep.
Dan, you have
Yeah, so that was into my question. Can we get a map of like
Yeah.
phase one, phase two lines, where it is now, and where it plans to be going? Because
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm kind of in the general spot, but I'm not.
Yes, no, we can get you a map for phase one and phase two. I think that would be
Just, yeah,
No,
and where it is
that's good.
now and where it's
Still
gonna
take
be, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know, as I'm sitting here describing it. Yep.
Well, I keep coming back to our color scheme too, with the green light, the red light, the yellow light that we
I
have.
was thinking
So we were talking about that actually, because when we get into the item update, we were going through like, oh yeah, we've got to figure out how to keep this stuff updated. We've been working with, the new capital improvement, the capital program manager, of how to better push this information out to you guys to keep you updated. There's a lot going on. Any other questions on this item? Anybody?
Are there any other, I don't know how to word it, the situations where we are dumping into public waterway and we plan on addressing that?
When you say dumping, like
Like we're not
consistently
supposed
dumping,
to be?
or?
Yeah.
Well, I think there are, as we are looking at, like, it happens, right, when it's raining, there are different times when the system is burping, right? You can actually get a New York alert and it will tell you where those things are happening. We have obviously the CSO outfalls are one that are, everybody I think is well aware that that's where it happens. We've got a couple other spots that we're trying to figure out. Is it it's happened recently that we're looking into to see, was it just a blockage because there was, roots or grease or something, or is there constrictions or capacity restrictions? But that's part of the collection systems director that we hired. We actually just replaced that the person that had the job resigned earlier this year, and we replaced it. We've hired somebody in August, and that's going to be their job, is to help us create a map of those locations and start understanding where those are happening, what's going on, and how do we alleviate those. So,
And just anyone at the state level, any of the EPA, things like that, have issue with the CSO dumping?
No, so the CSOs is already something that we've been working closely with them on, and we've got, that's actually under consent order with them, to work through and develop what our long-term control plan is, because obviously they want us continually moving towards reducing and eliminating CSOs to the extent that we can. So a big part of that, since we're on the subject, is working with the DOT on the I-81 project. There's going to be a lot of efforts. They're starting some of their next phase is building a whole new separate storm sewer system in the downtown area by the 690 and 81 interchange.
Yeah.
And that's actually going to have tremendous benefits to us because it's going to remove a lot of stormwater. Some of the other projects that I'm going to be coming back to you eventually on is some improvements to our floatable controls, the screening, the treatment we do on the overflows. So yeah, so no, we do work pretty closely with DEC on this, and we do meet with them quarterly and to talk about all sorts of various regulatory issues and permits that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, we work very closely with DEC.
Yeah, but if those are already under consent order, you're saying, it's
Yep.
not like we're all of a sudden getting more.
Nope.
Thank you, Legislator Kelly and Legislator Romeo, second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, item 2A, motion carries. And now we're on to 2B.
Do you want to sit
Yeah,
here?
no problem. This one's underlap, but it's really legal.
Okay.
It's, they also have the old drainage and the drainage and sanitation department, which did some Lake Creek, historical Lake Creek rechanneling efforts, which that and us being a property owner was the Lake Creek line and some property along Lake Creek, and that's also in our drainage district, that we have been invited to the party for the Lake Creek cleanup, lower Lake Creek. This is EPA is, you might have heard Racer Trust. They're doing upper Lake Creek. They divided the creek into two, don't ask me why. And they're doing, after some work, they're gonna remediate upper before lower, which seems to make sense. Everything flows down. So we've agreed to that. So the EPA is planning, they say in here, to probably start that remediation work in about a year. It's expected to take about 4 years. And we are a property owner along it. This particular parcel they want access to is a very small parcel, but the creek does run through it. This is, this actually area was part of a previously remediated PCB dredge spoil area. GM has remediated that area. but the creek runs through it, and this is for the, if you will, the creek remediation itself. My understanding is they're gonna remediate it in the dry, meaning they're gonna divert the water. It's gonna be removing PCBs, and other impacted soils from it, offsite disposal, excuse me. We are not involved in that litigation yet, and we hope not to be. The cost has greatly, there's been some increase by 2 to 3 times. They've expanded the territory, so the cost is rising. But they are going and they're hitting the ground running, so we just gotta, this letter, I included the letter in here. This was the access agreement the EPA provides to you. It's signed here. I will let you know I'm negotiating right now to make sure we get our county insurance limits, since they're on our property and doing substantial work. I want to make sure that we have our insurance limits that their contractors are carrying, are naming us, excuse me, as an additional insured, so we have all the protections we possibly can. The federal government does not defend and indemnify. They do not hold harmless. They do not. So the best I can do is to get insurance to protect us and our property, and I'm working with EPA on that right now. But this would give me authorization to, once we come to terms, execute this agreement and give them access to the property to start the long-awaited Lake Creek remediation.
So they actually do the work?
They are,
Contractors.
the Army Corps is contracting it out.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, Army Corps.
Is this all in the town of Salina?
This would all be Salina, I believe. Yep.
Why do we own this property? What is it?
It drainage district property largely.
Oh,
There is
it's
a,
just us.
yeah, there's a drainage easement, drainage owned property, and I think there might actually be some WEPA infrastructure in this particular area. A pipeline runs through it. But a lot of it's historic drainage district property.
And none of that's gonna be affected when they divert it and
They'll have to restore the property to its original condition as well. I would love to have
maybe it
them
needs to be replaced.
say that in here, but they don't promise it, but they just do it historically. But I'm trying to get all the assurances I can. But yes, they'll restore the property to its original condition.
It's important though, this is just a big vacant piece of land along the creek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything we own is underneath, right?
It's under,
It's underground.
Yeah, and actually,
I don't even know that we've got sewers on this parcel, because like as Bennett indicated, there is, WEP as an entity has sewer assets, and then our drainage district assets. This is actually owned by the drainage district, not the sanitary sewer, but we also have sewers running through it. So we like to keep it complicated at WEP. And yeah, I don't think we have any concerns other than I think this is an opportunity for us to sign this access agreement, get the land cleaned up so that.
Yes, absolutely. Just wanted to know if anything was gonna be disrupted or.
no, not as far as operationally. Nope. And I believe the homes have been previously remediated. A lot of the back excuse me, can't get words out. Yards behind Brookline, that area had already been previously remediated. So this is just really following the creek route. It should be minimal disruption to the area, I believe.
Anybody else? Okay, so I just need a motion, please, for item 2B. Deb Cody, and a second. Tony Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. 2B passes, and we are adjourned.
That's a,
Oh, wait. Come on back up. I
I
forgot. Wait a minute. I told you I drank 10 cups of coffee and it's done the opposite effect. So this is the real reason we brought her here. We forgot about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean,
Yes. Okay. We have big doings going on.
so, I think, and I apologize, like, we've got a lot going on, a lot. And so I know you guys had wanted to bring me back in, and I think this is a good opportunity. I've got at least an opportunity to give you some good detailed updates on our staffing and what's going on. I could talk about some key strategies, some things that we've got in the works, and, capital projects. And then if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about afterwards, let's chat. So I will say this, so we have had a really big year in terms of hiring. We've actually hired 31 people since January, and which has been really cool. And I think it has been predominantly, I will say there was I'm trying to do math. 8 of those 31 were management. The rest of them are actually boots on the ground. Work, like actual mechanical maintenance workers, I&E workers. But the cool thing is so we did a big push this summer. We did a heavy recruiting. And the biggest thing for me to move the needle on the department is to really get the management team to actually start building out those programs to supervise and make sure that our team below them have good work processes and have good procedures and have the resources. So they need supervision to do that. And so this summer, over the span of about 2 months, we brought on some really, really important management positions. We were able to hire our Deputy Commissioner of Administration, started about 8 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, and so I think for me, that is, Martha Hennigan has been really deep within the administrative processes and functions and looking at hiring and recruiting and safety. And thanks to you folks in the creation of the Director of Industrial Health and Safety, we actually have a candidate that we've hired, and she's starting Monday, because that's one of our biggest strategies is safety, employee health and safety, and our safety programs. And so, Martha has made that her top priority. She's found a candidate. We've got a really strong candidate. We're excited to get her in. But I always temper everyone's, energy and excitement with, but we've got to give her time now. We've got to get this, our new Director of Health and Safety, our Deputy Commissioner of Administration, we've got to give them time. Sitting behind me with me today, Nicole Falkowski started as my executive assistant. I think it was one of the biggest things that I realized was that I was getting overwhelmed. Showed up here for the wrong day for the meeting because I was trying to manage my own calendar. I was trying to manage the things a lot by myself. And I think that was the big thing for me was the realization that when you've got too much work, you're overwhelmed and you're ineffective. And so you've got to be able to delegate that down. And it's at all levels of the organization. And so I'm excited because I now have some resources that I can delegate to. Within Eric's team and the capital programs, he was able to hire and fill his management engineer position, which is a huge push for him to be able to push down capital programs and start really dealing with making sure things are moving forward in a timely fashion. He's hired a lot of water systems construction engineers under him to actually do the work of designing. We've got a lot going on in our construction teams. Let's see what else he's hired. Probably the other big area where we've done a lot of hiring is under Dave Snyder in our actual core functions. We were able to hire a new I&E superintendent that we actually got. He came to us from a nuclear plant. And so we're super excited to have Bob Livingston on the team. And he's really pressing hard now to get in with our instrumentation and our electricians and really start helping identify for them who, like hiring, filling, there's a lot of vacancies in his team, but also making sure that we've got the safety programs, we've got the training, we've got the right resources to keep those guys safe, keep them working efficiently. We hired a pump station maintenance superintendent. He came to us from West Rock, and same thing, right? A lot of vacancies in that team, but now we've got a superintendent. They can go out, they can do the hard work of recruiting and hiring, and then training and helping the resources that are there work more efficiently. Let's see who else we've hired. Just a lot of people. We have an industrial pretreatment director. I'm pretty excited. Hired this person. They're actually moving here from New Jersey. They're going to be starting in January. That's a lot of our regulatory program stuff. So there's a lot going on with hiring. 31 new people, very exciting. The flip side of that, though, we are still continuing to experience retirements. We've had 16 people retire, and we've had another 15 people leave us for various reasons. Some for money, some for health, some for just other career opportunities. So, unfortunately, we brought 31 in. We've had 31 leave. So, and so with that comes challenges, right? That's where that really highlights that turnover and the need for administrative programs, training and onboarding. We've got we're young. We're a very young department. So our key strategies now, let me find my notes. We're starting to look at, I mentioned safety programs, training. We're really looking, thanks to you guys and your continued investment in our training program, getting those employees out, getting them signed up for training. We're doing really well with that. OpenGov, our online, do business with us electronically. We've been working diligently through getting that stood up. We are now actually processing Eric's team, capacity assurance, new sewer service requests. It's a big one, right? Obviously, a lot of community development. In the span of the last, I want to say 5 months, we've gotten 32 requests for new sewer service, or requests for do we have capacity to serve. So that's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work coming at us. I think 13 of those or 14 of those actually will process through our new online platform, which we're hoping that digital workflow is going to help us track it and log it to make sure we can get back to the public and give them they're going to be able to log in and see where is it in the review process. Under OpenGov, another big area we're looking at is digitizing our plumbing program. We did a lot of work on it. We came up with a very complicated permit process, and we realized that we needed to pull back and really simplify that. So that's still in the works. We're working closely with our plumbing team, and I think it's been good because it highlighted for us opportunities to streamline how we interact with the public from the plumbing perspective. The other big strategy that we're working on right now is our financials. We are moving our financial operations back into FinOps, the actual county department. There was a lot of duplication. They had a lot of processes and functions that were already set up to do things more efficiently than we could. So we've been working through that the last probably 5 or 6 months. Bumps and bruises with that, but I see that that's a great opportunity for us to really take advantage of their expertise moving into 25 and into the years that come. So those are a lot that we've been working on behind the scenes to really get ourselves ready for what's coming in the future.
So you really did an organizational restructuring.
We did.
And one of the questions, I know it's probably not the biggest deal, but I'm curious, when you hire like a boots on the ground employees, how many weeks does it take, or how long does it take to get somebody trained, ready, and able to go out into the field?
So that's one of the things that we're looking at. Like right now, we don't have, I would say, we spend a couple days at most, because our boots on the ground really want that resource quick. Yeah. And, in talking to a lot of other utilities and talking to a lot of other organizations, and even with Martha, that was one of the things that Martha first said was, wow, we really probably need to spend some more time. Yeah. We need to hold them back and spend more time, weeks going through policies, procedures, safety training. I would say I've talked to some organizations that it's 12 weeks, some that it's, a month. I don't know what the answer is, but I trust that Martha's going to come up with a good program for me. Are we done on staffing and key strategies?
Anybody else?
Anything else?
When is your the plumbing permit online process? What do you think you'll get?
January 1st is our go live date.
Okay, cool.
And it's we are in kind of testing mode right now. But one of the things that did come out of it was we did stand up an online payment website through financial operations. They were able to get us to a spot where we are now going to be able to receive all of our payments online, like a lot of other county departments. We hadn't had it before, and now we do. So I'm excited about that.
It'll be a little more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Construction, capital programs. We've done some really great work this year, and we've got a lot of different projects that are in construction. We've got several more that are coming up into construction. I'll give you the big updates of the ones that are almost done. Our Davis Road pump station, which was just about a $13 million project. Davis Road is the main pump station that feeds the Oak Orchard plant. You wouldn't even know where it is. It's kind of on the south side of 481, places through our area. Without describing, it's off in the middle of nowhere. You won't know where it was. But we did a complete gut and rehab of that facility. New pumps, new pipes, new meter pits, and pretty excited about that. We're hoping actually to do kind of like a site visit soon when it's completely done. Brewerton, the wastewater treatment plant, we had a small chemical, I say small, it was a $2 million project, but we replaced some chemical storage tanks and feed pumps there. that we're on track. That's going to be done at the end of this year. The big projects I will say are at Metro. Anybody's seen the cranes? We've got 3 large projects that are going on there. The digester project, actually, which has been going on for quite some time, that's our $22 million investment that built the gas bubbles. We are closing in on the final piece of that, which is actually our 1 megawatt of cogen, taking the methane gas instead of burning it. We've been hit some hurdles with interconnections with National Grid because it's behind the meter power generation, but we are building out the safety things that they needed, and we expect that should be online hopefully by the end of this year, which is huge. That will start reducing our energy bill. The other big cost-saving project is our sludge dryer. Everybody wants to know about that one. That's our $22 million investment to get water out of our sludge and reduce sludge hauling. And we had unfortunately had targeted it going fully into operation early this year. We started it up, and with any commissioning of any new advanced system, there's a learning curve. And so we've had some issues related to, this is going to be really gross and I'm so sorry. But one of the first hurdles that we ran into was as the sludge was coming down onto the belts, the hair was tangling it up. I'm sorry. So we had to modify the system to cut the hair. And so then we started it back and we got it back up and running. And, then we were actually able to turn on 2 belts to the dryers at the same time. And we ran into some atmospheric air quality issues with it. So we immediately shut it down because of health and safety. And so we've been working through with the designer and the construction company to figure out what safety measures and how does the project need to be redesigned so that we can get it back up and running. So we've got some interim stuff that they have implemented and are working towards the full improvements, but we've got working with our staff to bring 1 up online and start performance testing it. But unfortunately, because of that, we haven't been able to realize the budgeted savings. Yeah, so we will be coming back next month because we're running into some sludge disposal unbudgeted expenses because the dryer is just taking longer to get up and running.
So obviously not in the industry, but you would think that if they build these, they might have anticipated that, no? Or is it just a different volume, or?
That was one of the questions that we asked. We're like, well, are we unique?
We can't be the only people.
Should have been on the troubleshooting list.
Do people in Central New York shed more than others? But, sorry, you gotta have a sense of humor. That was one of the questions that we asked, and I think they didn't see it to the extent in other communities, and so I don't know if it's because of the size of this installment. But yeah, no, that was something that we were wondering too, like how did you not know this was gonna happen? But that's those 2 projects that have been in the works for quite a while. The other big project at Metro is our clarifier project. And that is a $50 million project, roughly. And we are in the works. We've gotten quite a few of the clarifiers fully rehabbed. It's really kind of cool. These are the big round tanks that we're completely gutting them, putting a nice prepping, rehabbing all of the concrete so we get another 40 years out of these. I think we probably have another year or 2 on that project. I don't have the exact how long that's going to be. But that's been going really well. The contractor's doing a great job, and we really haven't had any major issues with them. They did a lot of work, actually. We have a lot of underground tunnels at Metro because of our proximity to the lake. Obviously, groundwater is a big issue. And so they've done a great job really helping us put in some water sealant for the infrastructure, with stopping water from getting in, because all of our electrical stuff runs through those underground tunnels. So water and electricity don't mix. So this has been a big improvement for us. Other big things, our Baldwinsville Seneca Knowles plant, still, I think that's going to be under construction for the foreseeable future. But we are closing out our phase 1, which is the big odor control improvements to our sludge digestion out there. We've got some clarifiers that are being rehabbed. That should be wrapping up, I think, probably by the end of this year, the middle of next year. It's going really well. Two big projects that are coming up are our Camillus force main. We're gonna be rehabbing the whole second half of that force main. We did put it out to bid earlier this year. We got a $25 million budget. And unfortunately, the bids came back at 26 million. So we had to reject them, or the low bid came in at 26. So it's giving us an opportunity to redesign and rethink. We put some things in there that, we wanted to have, that we're now rescoping back out. And I think we're gonna be able to, cut several $1 million out and come in under that budget you've authorized. The other big one is the White Pine Pump Station in Force Main. We did bid that a couple weeks ago, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think we're authorized for 35 million, and I believe we came in at just over $31 million. So we're in good shape. We've awarded those contracts, and we are moving forward. So that obviously is that very first phase of getting sewer service expanded along 31 into that area to support Micron and all the other community development that's coming. So that's all. I think that's a lot of the big stuff. We did kick off this week. We had our chartering session on the Oak Orchard, the entire program of what is the north area, what does the sewer service need to be, what do the local communities need, what is economic development, and how does that change what Oak Orchard's going to be. So more to come, and we'll keep you updated on that process as it goes.
Do you have a timeline on the White Pine Pump Station project?
I would expect that we're going to start construction probably summer of next year. And then I think we're targeting a completion date by the end of 26.
Anybody else?
Anything else?
I get a headache just thinking about being heard.
I know, I'm just so happy to see that you have.
I know.
Me too.
Good system. I'm always
So I think that was really a lot of the stuff that I had. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to ask about? Anything you want to know about? I did want to express sincere gratitude for those of you who showed up at WebFest. It was so great. It meant a lot to the team, for them to see legislators coming and learning about what we do and seeing your faces and you guys engaging with them. I want to thank you guys for that because it's really important for them.
It was a nice day.
Yeah.
What was the size of that pipe I was in over there?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the 90? I think it was 96. I think it was 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that was a 96-inch thick pipe.
Good to know. Interesting.
Was that the size of the main line, our main interceptor?
No, the main intercept is even bigger than that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We could just put everything in terms of my personal wingspan.
So it's and I think I'm glad that you said that because that was one of the things is like really trying to get people to understand.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting, a public meeting last night, and I was trying to describe the main interceptor sewer, and I said, well, it's about 10 feet, which is, well, it's about the height of the ceiling, and everybody looked up and went, you have pipes this big? Yeah, we do. And then when you start thinking about how big that is and how much water can go through it, and now to block it and try and bypass it, that's when you really start to realize, like, this is big stuff that we're trying to fix. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, we're adjourned.